No one has ever trusted you like this. This person opens up without fear because they feel safe by your side. You are the harbor where they rest, where all doubts fade away. This is not just any love, it's deep, it's genuine. Don't run from it. You know it's real, you feel it, don't you? The way this person gives themselves to you wholeheartedly, as if they're in front of someone who would never hurt them. There's no hesitation in their eyes when they look at you. There's no fear in their words when they open up to you. This isn't common. This doesn't happen to everyone. Most people carry scars too deep to trust like this, but with you it's different. They don't need to pretend. They don't need to protect themselves. With you there are no masks. Do you notice the difference? The way this person allows themselves to be vulnerable, as if they know there's no risk in giving themselves completely. This doesn't come from nowhere. It's built layer by layer, moment by moment. You haven't just earned affection, you've gained something even rarer. Security. Have you ever paused to think about the weight of that? What it means to be the only one someone truly trusts. It's not just love, it's more than that. It's the kind of connection that doesn't break with time, that doesn't fade with distance. Because trust isn't just any feeling, it's a pillar. And they've given you that pillar. Now the question is, are you ready to hold on to this? Because it's not just about receiving. You hold something fragile and precious in your hands, something that, if broken, may never be rebuilt. So, what are you going to do with it? This isn't something you find twice in a lifetime. You can feel the weight of this trust, the raw truth behind every gaze, every touch, every word this person says. They have no doubts about you. They don't question if they're making the right choice because they already know. That's rare, that's intense. But do you understand what this means? Because trusting like this isn't easy. This person has seen the worst in the world, has tasted disappointment, and has witnessed broken promises right before their eyes. Yet despite all that, they chose you. They chose to believe that this time it's different. That with you there's no need for fear, for reservations, or for hiding behind a shield. You can see it in the small details. The way they open up without fear, the way they share secrets they never dared to tell anyone. The words that sound so natural, effortless, as if they were meant for someone who has always been there. The moments of silence that aren't uncomfortable, but are instead filled with meaning. The way they look at you when they think you're not noticing, as if they're etching your presence into their memory, fearing that one day they might lose it. But have you ever wondered what this trust demands of you? Because yes, it's a gift, but it's also a responsibility. You can't treat it like something ordinary because it's not. You can't act like this is just another love because it's not. This person has given you what is most precious to them, the assurance that they can be who they really are without the fear of getting hurt. And the question remains, what will you do with this? You can pretend you don't understand what this means. You can ignore the weight of this gift, but deep down you know. You feel it. Because not just anyone receives this kind of trust. It's not something you ask for or demand. It's something you earn. Something proven with every glance, every respected silence, every word spoken at the right moment. And this person didn't choose you by chance. They wouldn't bet so high on someone they weren't sure about. They wouldn't open the doors to their innermost being if they didn't feel in every fiber of their being that you are different. You have become the exception. The only presence that doesn't need to be tested, questioned, or feared. But now comes the hard part. Can you be what this person believes you are? Can you uphold that trust without wavering? It's easy to accept love when it comes without barriers, without resistance. The difficult part is understanding the depth of what this means. Trust of this kind isn't built in a day, but it can be destroyed in a second. A slip, a hesitation, a wrong word at the wrong moment. And everything that has been built crumbles. There's no second chance for something like this. So take a good look at this person. Look beyond what's on the surface. They are giving everything. They are allowing you to see them as no one else has. They are placing their heart in your hands without any guarantee it won't be broken. And now, will you hold it with the same strength they would for you? There's no turning back. You've already accepted this trust, become part of this silent pact where they see you as no one else does. And now everything you do or fail to do will carry a weight greater than you can imagine. Because when someone gives their heart like this, there is no middle ground. Either you take care of it or you destroy it. They won't say this out loud. They won't ask you to protect them, because to them that's already implied. In their mind, you would never do anything to hurt this connection. You would never betray that trust. But do you understand the seriousness of this? The world has taught them to be wary, to build barriers, to maintain a safe distance from anyone who might pose a risk. And yet, with you, all those defenses fell. This didn't happen by accident. It was you, in the details, in the gestures, in the words, in the time spent by their side, without ever failing. You've become the only place where they can rest without fear. But what if one day they look at you and no longer recognize that safety? What if for a moment you hesitate and make them question whether all of this was real? Think about it. Think about what it means to be someone's safe harbor. What it means to know that if you fail, that person may never trust anyone the same way again. The impact of your presence is greater than you realize. So, I ask once more, are you ready to be what she believes you are? There is no room for doubt. You already know what that trust signifies. You feel the weight of that commitment. But knowing isn't enough. Trusting someone this way is like jumping into the dark without knowing if there will be solid ground. And she jumped. For you. Without guarantees, without reservations, without fear. Now, everything depends on you. Every action, every word, every silence shapes how that trust is maintained or broken. You might pretend this isn't something monumental. You might try to downplay the significance of that commitment. But that doesn't change the fact. She has given you something that isn't given twice. And what if one day that trust is broken? If, through your carelessness or a moment of weakness, that person feels she was wrong to surrender. You might think an apology would fix it, that time would mend it, but you know that's not how it works. Because those who trust this way don't expect slips. Not because they idealize, but because they feel, in every gesture you make, that you are different. She believes in you more than she believes in her own fear of getting hurt. Do you understand how powerful that is? How much courage it demands. You could be the best thing that ever happened in her life or the biggest mistake, and that choice is in your hands. What are you going to do with it? Do you feel that responsibility, not as a burden, but as a privilege? Because being the only one someone trusts this way is not common. It's not something that happens to just anyone. You have become essential. But now comes the hardest part, maintaining that trust every single day. Because trusting isn't a one-time act, it's a continuous process. With every glance, every word, every gesture, you either reinforce or erode that connection. And if one day you fail, even if it's unintentional, that person will never be the same again. Can they forgive? Maybe. Can they try to forget? Who knows? But trusting again in the same way? That doesn't happen. When something like this breaks, it doesn't get rebuilt the same. The bond may continue to exist, but it will be marked by invisible cracks, by memories that insist on resurfacing in moments of silence. So before you take any misstep, before you act without thinking, ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth the risk of destroying what has been built with so much dedication, with so much honesty? This person has given you the purest and most sincere part of themselves. Now it's up to you to decide if you will honor that or waste something that will never again be the same. Because this kind of trust, it only happens once, and when that trust is gone, there's no turning back. It doesn't matter how many words you say, how many promises you make, how many times you try to prove you're still worthy of it. What was broken stays there like an invisible scar. A constant reminder that one day this person believed in you and, somehow, that wasn't enough. Do you want to be that bitter memory? Do you want to be the reason they will never trust anyone the same way again? Because that's what's at stake. You're not dealing with something superficial. This isn't just a relationship, it's not just a fleeting feeling. It's a silent pact between two souls, something built with time, patience, and truth, something that many go their whole lives without finding. She chose you, not out of convenience, not out of need, not because there were no other options. She chose you because she felt she could be herself by your side. Without fear, without masks, without the worry of being deceived, betrayed, or discarded. Can you look her in the eyes and say that you'll never do anything to break that? Can you affirm without hesitation that you understand the value of that trust and that you'll never take it for granted? If you can't, then leave now. Don't destroy something you're unsure you can uphold. But if you can, then make it count. every day without exception, because trust like that doesn't come around twice. If you truly understand what that means, then you know there's no room for carelessness. This trust isn't a privilege you can carry lightly. It isn't something you can just put aside and pick back up when it's convenient. It exists because this person saw something in you that they haven't found in anyone else. Something that made them believe, despite all the pain, that it was still possible to surrender without fear. And now, everything you do carries a heavier weight. Every choice you make reflects on what you are building together. There's no room for foolish mistakes, for thoughtless actions, for the selfishness of someone who thinks they'll always have time to fix things later. Because later may not exist. If that trust is wounded, nothing you say will change what she felt. The moment of doubt, the second she realizes she might have been wrong about you, that's the moment that defines everything. And once that crack appears, it never completely disappears. So you need to decide now. Will you carry this trust as something sacred, something that deserves your full dedication? Or will you allow distraction, carelessness, or lack of awareness to destroy what has been built with such truth? Because if there's one thing you need to understand, it's that when a person trusts like this, they don't expect to be deceived. They don't prepare for the pain. They don't have an escape plan. They simply believe. And you hold in your hands the power to honor or destroy that unconditional faith. What are you going to do with that? Because the moment that trust is broken, something inside them also shatters. And it doesn't matter how much you try to fix it, how many apologies you make, the truth remains. They will never be the same. You might think words are enough, that time heals all wounds, but there are injuries that don't heal. They just become part of who that person becomes after the disappointment. Do you want to be the reason for that change? Do you want to be the reason they look at love with suspicion? Because if you fail, if you give them a reason for that certainty to turn into doubt, everything you've built together will crumble. There's no second act for something like that. There's no clean start. They trusted you without asking for anything in return except your sincerity, your presence, your loyalty. They didn't demand proof, didn't put up barriers. They just felt they could open up. And now, the choice to keep that alive or destroy it forever is in your hands. If you can't guarantee that you will uphold that trust, then walk away now. Don't wait until it's too late, until the sparkle in their eyes fades and the space that was yours turns into an irreversible void. But if you know without a doubt that you can be everything that trust requires, then prove it. Not with words, not with empty promises, but with actions. Because in the end, that's what defines everything. What will you do now? Because in the end, it's not words that sustain a trust like that. It's the details. It's the little things that may seem insignificant, but to her, they mean everything. It's the look that conveys security when words fail. It's the constant presence, even when she doesn't ask for it. It's how you treat her when no one is looking. She never needed to hear exaggerated promises. She never asked for unrealistic guarantees. What she wanted from the very beginning was to feel safe by your side, that you were different, that this time she wouldn't have to fear the day when everything would collapse without warning. If that trust is ever broken, it won't be a grand event. It won't be a moment of explosion. It'll be silence. An empty look where there used to be light. A nearly imperceptible distance at first, but irreversible when you finally notice. And then when you realize it will be too late, she won't cause a scene. She won't ask for explanations. She will just understand that she was wrong to believe. And the pain of that mistake will be greater than any anger she could feel towards you. Are you prepared to live knowing you were the one who taught her to distrust? Because if you fail her, that's what will happen. You will be the reason she will never fully open herself up again. So, I ask you once more, are you ready to carry that responsibility? To be someone who will never give her a reason to lose that trust? Because if there's any doubt within you, go now. But if the answer is yes, then be willing to prove it, every day without exception, because she deserves that. And can you be that someone? If you've made it this far, you already know what this trust means. It's not something fleeting. It's not just any feeling. It's the purest commitment someone can offer, and now the responsibility is in your hands. Will you honor it, or will you let it slip away? There's no middle ground. Either you prove every day that you deserve this trust, or you watch it vanish, taking with it everything you've built together. Now I want to know, have you ever experienced something like this? Have you ever felt that commitment or had your trust broken? Share your experience. I want to hear your thoughts. And if this message resonated with you, please like it and subscribe for more reflections like this. Your participation is essential.